What up, y'all? It's the homie Dame, and you know, I used to be a pretty big Spider-Man fan, right? He's my favorite superhero, and I've read a ton of his comics throughout the years, my favorite being that one Brian Bendis Ultimate Spider-Man run in the 2000s. That Green Goblin design, man, they gotta use that in the movies or something. But I'm sure y'all know that there are a bunch of different versions of the web slinger, and the one we're talking about in particular is Spider-Man from the 1978 Japanese TV show. I watched the show and I want to take y'all through it so you can experience the same insanity I experienced. You're welcome. So I think the best way to do this is just to go through the first episode with y'all so I can break down why this is the GOAT Spider-Man. You know, this is my GOAT. Hashtag Peter Parker could never. Anyway, like and subscribe because we're gonna get right into it. The first episode starts out with some guy calling out to something called the Marveler before we cut to this hip young Japanese man doing some groovy tricks on a motorcycle while this lady aggressively takes pictures of him. As you can see, this is already a more dynamic, thought-provoking, and innovative opening than any other Spider-Man adaptation. I mean, this is like Stanley Kubrick with the filmmaking prowess on display here. This Borg-looking dude talks about something called a machine BEM, and he makes sure to let us know it took him 400 years to build it. Oh yeah, also his name is Professor Monster. I can only assume that Monster is his first name and his last name is either MASH or energy drink. He goes on about how he wants to kill a guy named Professor Yamashiro, who is hip young Japanese man's father. And guess what? This hot-blooded, thrill-seeking young man is our protagonist, Takia Yamashiro. Already from the jump, we can see that Takia is infinitely cooler than Peter Parker. He's good looking, pretty well built, has a sick bike, and already has women fawning over him. Well, I mean, one of them is his sister, but I mean, hey, there's gotta be a Japanese equivalent of Alabama, right? Point is, Takia is a cool ass dude. I mean, I can only imagine this is what James Cameron had in mind when he cast Leonardo DiCaprio for that canceled Spider-Man movie he was gonna make. Instead of doing some geeky science experiment or going to like a lab demonstration like lame-ass Peter Parker, Takia is getting ready for an extreme race. But Takia finds out that his pops, along with his girlfriend and sister, have been attacked by this dollar store Godzilla. Turns out the old professor was looking into a group called the Iron Cross Army that's secretly invading Earth. He gives Takia a rundown on the situation and I guess he's dead now. Damn. He seemed pretty excited a second ago. Oh wait, he's still moving his head here. Are y'all sure he's dead? I guess they needed like an Uncle Ben moment, but the thing is they didn't really give him you know, with great power comes great responsibility type line. I guess in the 70s, Spider-Man adaptations hadn't really solidified this as a big part of the mythos yet. Anyway, Takia is pretty upset over this whole thing. He just wanted a fun day out racing and enjoying the springtime of his youth, and now his dad is dead. And he's being attacked by people in Fashion Nova bodysuits. Maybe he would have been more cautious that day if he paid attention to this extremely subtle foreshadowing from earlier. So yeah, Takia is fighting for his life while a slowed down version of the Batman theme plays. He then falls into a hole where some homeless man named Garia tells him he's from the planet Spider, which, I mean, I guess they're sticking with the theme. I don't know about y'all, but I think it'd be nice if all superheroes had a planet that shared their theme. You know, Superman's got Krypton, but Batman needs Planet Bat. And Iron Man needs Planet Iron. So, I mean, it's nice that this show gave Spider-Man's origin story a little extraterrestrial, you know, twist. Although one could argue that being from New York is basically like being from another planet anyway, but you know, let me stop. Takia is hurt badly from his fall and from the fight beforehand, so Garia decides it's necessary to fill him with spider extract. Which is basically just a much more pornographic version of the spider bite. Takia's life is saved, and we get to hear a little bit about Garia's backstory.
ところが罠にはめられ、この毒蜘蛛の洞窟に
You'd think that'd be an advantage for someone from Planet Spider, but hey. Basically, Garia has been trying to get vengeance on Professor Monster for destroying his homeworld, and now Takia has to carry on his legacy for him by inheriting the power of Spider-Man.
君はスパイダーマンとしての能力を身につけた。
Now, remember how in the original comics, Spider-Man was just like a random name Peter Parker came up with while he was a wrestler? Yeah, apparently in this universe, the power of Spider-Man is like an already established thing. It's like if they gave Steve Rogers the super soldier serum and immediately afterwards said that he now had the powers of the Captain America. Or like if Deadshot said that they were some kind of suicide squad. Oh wait. Garia then ends up dying somehow. Maybe giving Takia the powers of the Spider-Man drained his life force. Or maybe being in that cave for 400 years did a number on his health. I don't know. Oh wait, he's still alive. He just turned into a spider, which is something he can just do, I guess. Now Takia has been given new purpose. His own personal quest of revenge on the people who murdered his father, and now inheriting the wishes of the dying Garia, who had his own motives for revenge. With this burning resolve in his spirit, Takia then proceeds to lay on the bed and stare at the ceiling. Garia literally has to remind him to become Spider-Man. I guess he just forgot. I mean, I'd want to forget getting filled with Garia's spider extract too. Anyway, Takia uses this spider gauntlet to transform into the Spider-Man. Oh my god, here we go. He then does the classic Spider-Man trick of clinging to the ceiling to hide from people walking into his room. I like to assume that Sam Raimi decided to copy this for his Spider-Man movie. Then Spider-Man uses his spider sense to track down Professor Monster and the Iron Cross Army. We then see a groovy montage of Spider-Man doing Spider-Man things, like swinging from the same tree multiple times in a row, and climbing up the walls of his apartment for no reason. The effects crew must have been really proud of this wall crawling shot because they use it like 5 times per episode. But hey, guess what? Now it's time for the most exciting action sequence of all time. I mean, I'm telling y'all, this puts the Civil War airport battle to shame, or like the final battle in Avengers Endgame. Forget all of that, because now we have Spider-Man gently flipping over paid stuntmen on a dam or something. Oh my god, who knew special effects in the 1970s were this good? Eat your heart out, George Lucas. Eventually, Spider-Man catches up with Professor Monster's second in command, I guess. I'm not exactly sure who this lady is, but she's very nefarious. Anyway, Spider-Man shows up and does the greatest introduction sequence of all time. Usually, people only introduce themselves as an emissary from hell if they're from the IRS or if they're about to beat your ass. I'm sure you can guess which one applies in this case. Eventually, the Iron Cross Army decide to break out the big guns, and they make this bootleg Godzilla grow into a bigger bootleg Godzilla. How does Spider-Man respond? Of course, by bringing out his giant robot called Leopardon. Also, he gets like a cool flying race car, because, I mean, why not? So, Spider-Man's giant robot pulls out a sword and violently stabs bootleg Godzilla. Hooray, the day is saved. Now we get a credits montage of Spider-Man stylishly driving away in his magic car, which is oddly named the Spider Machine, even though it has nothing spider related on it whatsoever. Oh my god, was he about to run those people over? I guess great power doesn't come with responsible driving, am I right? As you can see, I mean, I'm sure it's pretty clear here that this is the greatest Spider-Man adaptation of all time, and perhaps the best version of Spider-Man ever. I guess. Let's do a side-by-side comparison to prove my point. Tatsuya has like super Professor X spider sense that can literally predict the future. Peter Parker's spider sense doesn't even work half the time. Tatsuya is durable enough to be swung into a mountain at full force with barely a scratch on him. Peter Parker once broke his arm from a minor fall. Peter Parker can jump really high, but Tatsuya can jump with such grace and stability that it looks like he's being pulled up by poorly concealed stunt strings. Peter Parker has an accelerated healing factor, but Tatsuya's healing factor is on par with Wolverine's. Tatsuya has X-ray vision. Peter Parker does not, in fact, have X-ray vision. Peter Parker has a bunch of lame-ass bums in his rogues gallery like the Green Goblin, Dr. Octopus, Kraven the Hunter, and Frogman. Meanwhile, Tatsuya has an exciting and memorable array of villains he fights, like this fish thing, a regular guy in a black suit, this disembodied brain that connects to whatever this is, and Sergeant Roderick from SpongeBob. I mean, I don't know, y'all. The evidence seems pretty clear to me. Japanese Spider-Man clears. But actually, I'm missing the most fire aspect of Japanese Spider-Man, and that's, of course, Marveler, or Leopardon, or Leopardon. I don't know. Actually, I think Marveler is like when it's in a spaceship form, and Leopardon is a giant robot, but yeah. This colossal marvel of extraterrestrial engineering is equipped with a big-ass sword, arm rockets, a chest-mounted web shooter, and whatever arc return is. In fact, Leopardon and Japanese Spider-Man appear in the Marvel Comics canon. It's said to be so powerful that it's the most crucial weapon in the Superior Spider-Man Spider Army when they're battling the Inheritors. Don't ask me what any of that means, because I don't know either. Real talk though, the show is not that good. I mean, it's a fun novelty to look back at, but I wouldn't recommend actually watching it. I mean, well, you could watch the first few episodes for fun if you're like getting high with your buddies and like you don't have any more episodes of Rick and Morty to watch. I will say it is interesting to note the huge cultural impact this show had, which is actually surprising to think about. Apparently, back in the 70s, this show actually had a pretty successful run, and it was one of the first Japanese TV shows to feature like the giant robot trope, which would eventually be incorporated into the Kamen Rider series, which then found its way into the Super Sentai series, and eventually the Power Rangers. Kamen Rider and Super Sentai had both existed as shows before this Spider-Man TV series, but I mean, as far as I know, the popularity of Leopardon encouraged the other shows to incorporate like the whole Megazord thing more frequently. So yes, Spider-Man was technically the OG Power Ranger. It's another point for Tatsuya and another L for Peter Parker. I mean, it's also fascinating to see a Spider-Man adaptation so early on when even the original Marvel mythos weren't really established yet. Because I mean, if another culture were to adapt Spider-Man today, they'd have like 60 years of source material, mythology, and iconic moments to draw from. But back then, it was like, it's Spider-Man. All he does is crawl up walls and shoot webs, right? Fuck it, let's give him a giant robot. But yeah, that's all I wanted to talk about. I know this isn't really anime related, but it is Japanese related, I guess. So, you know, still kind of on brand. I just wanted to talk about this show, to be honest. It was goofy as hell, and I had a good time watching it. So yeah, that's all. Like and subscribe, donate to Patreon, follow me on Twitter, and leave a comment about why Japanese Spider-Man is the GOAT. That's the video piece. Way cooler in Japan. Saves the world, rides a bike, flies a robot through the sky. Look out, Spider-Man in Japan. Go, Spider String! One last thing, the evil second-in-command lady apparently has like an Earthling disguise as like the editor-in-chief for a newspaper or something. But what's funny is like the way she's introduced makes it seem like the Iron Cross Army evil lair is in the back of the office where she works. Like she literally walks out of a back closet and she's at work. It's amazing.